Hi, this is Machiavelli, and you're watching The Esports Historian on Thorn's YouTube channel.
Okay, I'm here for another episode of Reflections, and this one is going to be with Hypno, who is a Portuguese Unreal Tournament dueler. And what's going to be interesting about this episode, okay, so I've done a couple of other episodes that were with people who either at some point were in Unreal Tournament or a couple of them were most famous for Unreal Tournament. And those are usually special considerations because for someone like Gitz, okay, I didn't follow too much Unreal, but I remember in the early days, the World Cyber Games, was a legendary figure. Someone like Vicious, actually, I already knew. As a spoiler for people, I knew that guy's like interesting as fuck and he was going to go all over the place with like philosophy on the game and stuff. He's just a very weird guy. So I kind of already knew that it didn't matter that we didn't have tons of tournaments to talk about in that one. But this one, Hypno, is going to be a bit different, okay, because in all of the interviews I do with people about Unreal, they nearly always all have the same kind of tone to them that usually goes like this. Oh, Unreal Tournament 99, what a game that was. Pretty good, you know. Okay, you know, in square brackets, not Quake, but, you know, then again, some of the later versions of Quake aren't necessarily Quake in the same way. But nearly everyone then sort of agrees, but the later versions, you know, gradually turned people off. You know, the franchise maybe lost its way. Like, there's a reason why, actually, I think Unreal didn't endure to the same way that Quake did. And it's not just, you know, the esports industry, which admittedly has forgotten a lot of the deathmatch games. I think some of it is due to some of these aspects. You know, maybe they watered down some aspects of what made the hardcore players of their game play it. So what's going to be interesting is, in finding out who you were, it actually revealed to me a sort of underbelly of Unreal tournaments that have been going on since then that I wasn't aware of, because obviously it wasn't in the big tournaments I remember, like the World Cyber Games, ESWC, CPL, etc. And so I know actually in my Gitz interview, he sort of hinted at some of this, because actually he came back later, which not a lot of people will realize, and did play in some competitions later on. But even he was sort of bemoaning the fact that, you know, it wasn't as big anymore and it was very niche in that sense. So hopefully this is going to be kind of a history lesson, but you're going to kind of open our eyes to some of the world that maybe existed in the dual deathmatch world of esports, but that many of us won't know about if we only know about Quake, etc. So let's start with this, okay? You did play Unreal Tournament 99, I would assume, because I saw in the different interviews online, you said that you've been playing since you were like 12. And so obviously that's pretty young.
Yeah.
Obviously UT99 dominated the first few years of the 2000s. This is when, as I referenced in the other interviews, these, you know, the really big names made their names at that point in time, because that was when it was like a global game. Now, obviously, if you're 12 years old, that's way too young to qualify for World Cyber Games. It wouldn't even matter even if you were good enough. How were you just a casual player at the time? What was your initial introduction to Unreal as an esports title?
Yeah, so I started playing Unreal actually in Unreal 1. It wasn't Unreal 99. So I started playing, I think I was like 11, and I started playing in a LAN cafe near my school. So I started quite young, but I never looked at Unreal in a competitive way. Like, I was just having fun with my friends. Like, all my friends from like the school and stuff played Unreal. It was so popular, and I was so young. I wasn't aware that you could like compete and win money, you know. I was just having fun with my friends until like maybe 2002 that I heard about WCG. I was probably 13 or 14. I don't think I was able to compete at that time, and I wasn't skilled enough, of course, as well. But I heard about this guy, this Portuguese guy that went to WCG to Korea, and I was like, whoa, that's so amazing. I wish I could do that one day, but I wasn't prepared at that time. So 1 year after, there was WCG 2003 and UT 2003, and I actually tried my luck. But, well, I wasn't prepared. I mean, I wasn't good enough. I was okay, but I didn't know how to duel. Like, I probably took more time in UT99 in a mod called Rocket Arena, which is basically like a mod that you have every weapon. And for me, that was like the skill game, you know, because you had no control and stuff like that, no belts. And, well, my type of skill at that moment, it was Rocket Arena, which I was wrong, of course. But then, yeah, in 2003, I wasn't prepared yet. And, I lost. And I told myself that I wanted to compete the next year and to be good. I I didn't like. Of course, I wanted to win, but I thought it was going to be super hard and stuff. But then I joined this team, this TDM team that put me to play against the best teams in Europe at that time, Ukraine and stuff like that. Like sometimes we could beat them, and I was evolving as a player, like, in terms of frag power. But I was lacking the dual skill, the dual mentality and stuff like that. I had this huge frag power, but I thought I didn't have enough skills for duel. Then this tournament happened in Portugal, and there was a duel tournament, and I said, yeah, why not? I should try it. Maybe I can't win it, but well, I should try it. And without like practicing duel, I placed second. So I was like, okay, if I actually practice, I have a shot to win the WCG qualifier, right? So yeah, that's what I did. Basically, I started practicing duel. I thought it was going to be super hard to win. I wasn't like sure that I would win, but if I did, it would be amazing for me. So the qualifier came, and I won. I was going to represent my country in San Francisco in WCG 2004, and I was super happy. It was my biggest win at that time, and yeah, it was a bit unexpected to me. I practiced it a lot. I remember like I was on holidays with my parents. I brought my computer with me to watch demos. I remember coming back by train because I wanted to train and not be in holidays and to be able to be online. And it paid off. And I went to WCG. Then in WCG, it wasn't too bad actually. I passed the groups. I had like.
Did you have any top players in your group?
Yeah, I had a guy from Arma team, Matt. It was a Belgian player, and I had the best Spanish player from Existence, a good team as well back then, and I had a Romanian player from Tech that was good as well. So I passed the group stage. I won my match after against a Japanese player, and then I lost against a Canadian player from Czech 6 at that time, Gimmicks. In the third map, and I must say, well, I wasn't lucky, but it's part of the game. I lost because he blew my shock core, basically. So I was in control like 3 or 4 frags ahead, and he blew my shock core. And I was so young, I got tilted and I lost control. But, well, it's part of the game. And, from now on, I then went to other tournaments. I was like... invited to ECG, Euro Cyber Games, which was like World Cyber Games for Europeans only. I had so many issues with this because I remember this. I was super young. Actually, my career was. I had so much luck and so much bad luck as well in UT2K4. Like for example, still talking about WCG 2004. You had to be 17 to play in the tournament. So I was 16 when I played the qualifier. And my birthday was on 5th of October. And the tournament started on 6th of October. So I actually had my birthday in San Francisco. Otherwise, I couldn't go. And the second place would go. So, like, if I didn't have that luck, maybe I would be so devastated that I probably would stop playing or something. I don't know, because I mean, winning the qualifier and then not playing because of like 1 day or 1 year of age. I mean, yeah. So ECG, Euro Cyber Games, then I had some troubles because ECG was like the WCG committee for the Portuguese one didn't want to send anyone, but I knew that they could send like good players or something. So since at that time I was the best esports player in Portugal because we couldn't really like give any decent results. Like all the other games from Portugal didn't pass the group stage. I was the only one competing until like the second or the third day. Everyone else was like having fun while I was still playing. So I actually wanted to go to Euro Cyber Games to try my luck. I mean, I was a good player at that time. I was playing cups and doing good results. I mean, I knew it was hard to win, but I knew that I could achieve something good, like, I don't know, maybe top 3, maybe top 5, top 4, something like that. So I had to call Samsung from Portugal, and they couldn't give me an answer. They just said, keep trying, call tomorrow. So until the very last day, I called like almost every day until the very last day, like before the tournament. I didn't know if I was going to Hanover or not. So one day before, the guy told me, okay, you can buy the ticket. We will refund you after. So like the night before, I bought the ticket, and then there was me going to Hanover with 17 years of age, without any manager. But I was just chasing my dream. I was so passionate about gaming. It was so important to me to be able to go to these international tournaments that I went fearless. My parents also were so supportive to let me go like this, well, then I saw the bracket, and I had in the first round Fragmaster from Mouse. It's like a scary name to me, right?
Yes.
And
Fragam.
Yes. Fragam, yeah, yes. Fragam. So I was like, oh, okay, I could have someone else in the first bracket, but yeah, I won. And I won the first match, and I was surprised but happy at the same time. Then I don't know who I played. I think it was again the Romanian player, the Pasarel. And I also played Lauke. And Lauke until these days is the only player in UTTK4 that I felt that was much superior to me. He outplayed me, and because his game style was like, I was super aggressive at that time, and he was as well. So his strike power was better than mine, and I was fearless, and I wasn't like plus backing. So if you feel like someone is superior, you should plus back. But it was like, I didn't feel like doing it because I wanted to be better in a way. I don't know. It's a weird approach to the game, but I always have been like this. I'm very aggressive. So yeah, I lost against Lauke, and then I won another game. I don't know, against who, and then I lost against Falcon 2-1. So I ended up like 5th overall.
And he was from like Austria or something. Right?
Yeah, Falcon was from Austria, and is a very good player, mouse sports player, AAA. Ended up like 2nd in SWC 2005. Yes. But it was really close. My matches against Falcon were always really close. But what was most interesting is that then Lauke against Falcon was super close. But then if I played against Lauke, I didn't have a chance. It was the only player that I played in UTTK4 that I felt, okay, this guy is just much better. Everyone else just felt very accessible.
Okay. Right, well, let's go back a little bit then. So what I want to know first is, when you were playing and you first discovered, like, there are these tournaments, like there's WCG, there's ESWC, and, obviously around the time you're actually able to potentially play, we've already switched from UT99 to Unreal Tournament 2003 initially. Now, as I mentioned before, it's actually the same in almost every hardcore esports game I'm aware of, where because the first game in a series is the one that makes the game popular.
Yeah.
What usually happens is the future versions of the game tend to have some aspects that to the hardcore fans are like watered down, because usually it's trying to appeal to more and more casual players, and so they actually want to make things not as hard. So the problem is, I absolutely understand why developers do it, but it's the same reason why it often sounds like a lot of the old pros are just bitter, but there's usually something to it, like if they were super good in the old version of the game, you can understand why they sometimes don't like the later versions, right? So even though you were very young when you were playing UT99, what did you think of the switch from UT99 to Unreal Tournament 2003?
I think I was super open regarding this subject. I mean, I liked every UT. I played every UT. And I think there were pros and cons. Like UT 2003 had some like really new cool stuff, aka like the double jump and boost dodge and stuff like that. But then it was kind of poor because you could like exploit its scan so much, like switching from LG to shock rifle and stuff like that. And it had the shield gun and stuff. But in a way, it was refreshing to me. Like I played UT99 for 3 or 4 years. And even though I was so young, I was happy to play it. And I was way worse in UT 2003 than I was in UT 99. For me, it was always a challenge to play a new game and try it out. I think every UT had flaws and had pros as well. UT 2003, like UT2K4 is just a good update of UT2K3, right? I mean,
Yes.
UT2003 had major flaws, and UT2K4 is very balanced, especially for TDM. I love TDM. Actually, I'm much more a TDM player than Duel. I just played Duel because there were competitions and money and traveling, and basically most people are known from dueling. Like only very few TDMers are known,
Yes.
like Fragam and stuff like that. So I was playing more Duel to actually compete and to be in all these competitions, because my favorite game type probably is TDM.
Okay, so well, actually, funnily enough, as you referenced that, I mean, the funny thing is, Quake itself used to be like that back in the days before, obviously, Quake. The problem is, if you say Quake, even for the last 10 plus years, people just think of the 1v1 tournaments and they think, that's Quake. Whereas it is, that's like the marquee version. And obviously, it's going to be hard to convince anyone to do a 4v4 tournament. But the game always was built up. Like in the old school days, what happened is you always played like either CTF or TDM. And then on the side, if you happened to be good at Duel, or you were just a very skilled player, because, initially there wasn't as much strategy in the early days, people would play that as well. And that was kind of the way you could show, like, individually I'm really good. But most people, their day-to-day was you play TDM or you play CTF. So I know particularly in Unreal Tournament, as you referenced before with these teams like Okrana and Shook, etc., these were like and obviously SK Gaming, all the different teams that they went through, these were like the really legendary names in the actual Unreal Tournament scene. Like, yeah, you'd have these big tournaments now and then the big LANs, but it felt like TDM was like the lifeblood. And I remember, I think it was Vicious who told some story about how he went to some LAN like years and years and years ago, and this LAN had like 100 people sign up just for the TDM tournament or something nuts like that, So it was a very, very vibrant scene. So here's the question, right? Was there actually much practice available of people who just wanted to play the 1v1s? Like, if you were breaking in, was it tough to get like a practice partner or to get to play against the kind of names you're referencing who'd be in the tournament?
No, it wasn't hard. I mean, back then it was just IRC, right? And so you just like you had like private channels. Like back then for UT2K4, you had UT2K4.leads, and every top player was there, so you could get practice like duels really easily, and you could get TDM as well. It was amazing. Actually, I remember you saying that about 100 people signed up for UT, and I experienced that. I in 2003 or 2002. There was a LAN. I mean, Portugal is small, right? So there was a LAN with 150 people signed up just to play TDM, CTF, and Duel. The prize money was a mouse pad. Okay, so
sure.
I mean, the competition back then was super high, but it wasn't as big as nowadays. And people were so passionate about LAN parties and stuff. It's also because of the ping, right? Like back then, like Portugal especially had very bad connections.
Sure.
I had a really hard time back then. In 2004 and 2002, my best ping to UK, that was the best server that I could play like international people, would be like 60 or 80 ms. So I was always playing in disadvantage. And there was this issue with Portuguese and Spanish players, and maybe Italian as well. And LAN parties was a huge thing.
Yes.
Was a huge thing because you could all gather there and stuff like that. Regarding practice, it was amazing. Like it's not even comparable to Quake Champions nowadays. Like you could get easily TDM matches, like on dual matches and stuff like that. It just shows that, well, the arena FPS are in decline, unfortunately.
Yes. So, okay, a question I actually had was, so you referred already to like Frag M, who obviously is a TDM legend, etc. Now, funnily enough, Gitz said this in the interview I did with him, and it's something that's like a sentiment that a lot of people had, which was that there were players like that who, at the game of Unreal, the different versions, they were fantastically skilled players, but for whatever reason, either they just didn't have the mentality to play Duel, like maybe they just tilted very easily, and they thought, this is bullshit, I prefer TDM anyway. But there was a lot of skilled players who kind of didn't try their luck at the 1v1 aspect. I mean, as we're mentioning, yeah, there was big tournaments, but people weren't necessarily going 100% pro unless they really knew they were going to come top 3 or something. Were the people who were the duelers, was it still quite a small community of the top players though? Like, was it the same sort of 15, 20 names?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, the very, very top was maybe 16, but then you had so many players, like 500, maybe 500 skilled players that was trying to get to that top. I mean, you had UT was so popular in Germany, like that. Even back then, it was in television, like Giga and stuff like that. So
Sure.
there was leagues for that, and I mean, just in Germany, the amount of good players was insane. It was probably the most hard qualifier for WCG, for example. Like 3 slots wasn't enough for Germany. So the community was very big. I mean, compared to League of Legends and stuff nowadays, in terms of numbers, it's not big, of course.
Sure.
But back then it was very big. Compared to today, as I said, like I've been playing these games for so long, and even with Quake Champions being with so much money, you don't see so much people playing it like you saw it before. So basically, it's that I actually hoped for Quake Champions to be so big, to the activity for team game types, for example, to increase, but it's not even comparable to standards that were set before.
Okay, so when you were playing, as you mentioned, in sort of the prime days of Unreal Tournament 2004, with all these big tournaments, that we saw all the huge names there, Lauke, Gitz, Bernie, all the younger guys, Forest Falcon, all the people who were coming up, Wins. Yeah. As all these big names were around at that point in time, was there something, now if you look at it, most of them that had any success in Unreal Tournament 99 also had success in the next game as well, like this. Yeah. They were obviously still very good duelers, etc. Did Unreal Tournament 2003 and 2004 suit a different game style more than UT99?
Yeah, for sure. The thing is, for example, it's interesting because UT99, for example, had like a sniper fire rate that was so fast that, yes. For example, people that still play and kept playing UT99 after it, in my opinion, died competitively, there were still good players. Like a player called Blair, for example, that is probably not known to many people, but is known in the UT99 community. He got extremely good after like 2005 or something, because the aim developed so much that with the sniper rifle you didn't really even need any other weapon, because it was so fast, because it was designed for an era that people didn't have so much aim, and the connections were bad and stuff like that. Nowadays, UT99 game balance is completely broken. You can't play it because of the headshots that are so easy and stuff like that. So obviously it had a different game style. UT 2003 and 2004 had a better net code, and it was way more balanced. Even though it had like random factors like the headshot, that some people say it's not random, but for me it's a bit random, and the goo gun and stuff like that. Of course, it's more balanced. And UT99 had an huge issue that people abused back then in WCG and stuff like that. That was like the minigun and the pulse gun was extremely powerful, and you could probably just play with it. Like if you see WCG finals, it's just people with minigun like abusing it, and it actually got nerfed after, like, I don't know if it was 2002 by a mod called JDubs, and the game actually became better, but then it fell off of the professional circuit. But it's funny because you still have these players that kept playing the game. For example, a Swedish player called Snatch that qualified for WCG. He kept playing UT99, and the game developed, but it's away from the spotlight, and not many people know this. But you could come to UT2K4 and be good from other games like Bernie did, right? Yes. I mean, you can come from random games and do it, but it's so rare that you actually wins. I don't know. I think you played Quake in the past.
I think he played just a whole bunch of games. Yeah, it was popular at the time.
So he switched to UT2K4. UT2K4 was very scan based again, and if you had good aim, it was 80% of the game. I saw Gitz saying that, and it was it's the reality. Although for me, I was never a scan player because of my connection. So I couldn't play with scan. So I needed to adapt. And I played more about rockets and flak and stuff like that because and combos because I couldn't be an hit-scan player. But I think my connection shaped my game style. Even after when I had a better connection, I kept playing with that and being somewhat successful with it. And that's why I'm known for being so aggressive with rockets and stuff, for example.
Okay, so here's the thing: if I hear your career story when you describe it like that, okay, obviously when you were, I mean, you're only 16, 17, 2004, 2005, and this is, as I said, the heyday of like the big tournaments in 2004, and then after that, gradually we get the drop off, and obviously there is no World Cyber Games for it anymore. ESWC is less relevant, etc. As this starts to happen, did you have kind of a feeling like you were sort of robbed because, like, you know, as you're getting better and you're getting into it and you're ready to go to the big tournaments, the really good players, the legends are sort of retiring. They're going from the game. The tournaments are going away. It must have felt like just when you've arrived, the scene's sort of disappearing a bit, right? I get that sense about you, right? You sort of, you have that nostalgic vibe, right?
Yeah, well, for me it was so important, like starting to be good and be recognized in UT 2004, and people didn't really know me in the WCG, but then they started to know me because I started to play more cups. Yes, Reality Invitational, which I got like 4th and stuff like that. And well, I was really aiming to the top. I was just starting, so I was getting 5th, 8th, never in the podium, but maybe another year with good tournaments and I could do it, right? And the last tournament I played seriously in UT2K4 was Digital Life Qualifier, which was a tournament in New York, and you had to qualify online again, which was a curse for me because I had 70 ping against everyone, and only the top 2 from Europe would go to Digital Life in New York. So I played, this qualifier was invite only. The 16 best players in Europe were invited, and people like Lauke and Falcon and stuff like that were invited. And somehow Lauke didn't qualify, and Devil MC didn't qualify as well. And only the top 2 would go. And there was me reaching the semifinals, almost getting to the top 2, which I said to myself, I mean, I'm going to play this qualifier, but it's almost impossible because I'm playing with 70 ping. It's going to be super hard for me. And I didn't I lost against a guy from Germany called JDubs from Ukraine. And that was the last tournament, and I was gutted because I knew that if I had the ping at that time, I could have placed top 2 and go to Digital Life and be in another tournament and at least finish my career there. But I was really frustrated that I couldn't be part of it, and I knew from my heart that it was because of the ping. This is something that cursed Portuguese players for so long that I know. I mean, when I had the opportunity, of course I didn't win on LAN, but I was a bit better. I felt a bit better. And in this particular tournament, I'm pretty sure it was because of the ping that I didn't qualify. I wasn't even saying that I would win on LAN because I didn't have much experience, and not taking anything away from Lauke and Gitz. For me, they're the most the legends in UT. But this particular tournament destroyed me, and I stopped playing because after that there were no really big tournaments. Maybe very small ones, small lands with $1,000 and stuff like that. And I was studying, and it wasn't worth for me to keep playing for such no motivation at all, you know. So I stopped playing with the hope that maybe UT 2007, that lately came Unreal Tournament 3, would come out and be big again, because in 2005, I actually played my last tournament in 2006. That was from a Portuguese team that called me because they were, now I remember, they were reaching the finals of the Electronic Sport League's Major League Unreal. So it was good for us because if we reached some stage, we would go on LAN and play on Giga and stuff like that. And they invited me, but I was kind of inactive, but I still wanted to play because it was LAN. And okay, so we went there and we placed second. It was a nice format, which had it was a team versus team that you had to play 2-on-2, 1-on-1, and 4-on-4, and then you would win by points.
Right, okay.
So it was a really cool format. Basically, we reached the final and played against Mouse Sports and lost and finished second. That was my last big UT 2004 tournament in 2006.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when Unreal Tournament 3 came out, I remember when the launch of the game happened, because actually a lot of people were like, oh, I hope this has like got a really big push behind it by the developer and, it kickstarts the esports scene. And it had a couple of tournaments, but I remember like it was kind of like it just flared up initially and then it never got kind of like the momentum. It never got the full threshold to kick up into the full esports scene. But I saw... Okay, so obviously the big tournament of your career was this Play.com tournament, which took place in the UK, and it had a pretty big first prize. It was £20,000. So that's actually like mega bucks when you consider that.
It was like 40,000 bucks for the first place. Winner takes all.
People have to realize a lot of those ESWC tournaments, that would be like, maybe 7,000 euros or something would be first place. And they was like, these were like, you had to beat all the best players of all time pretty much to win them.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
At this tournament, okay, there were a bunch of names that I recognized when I saw the player list. Like I saw, obviously, there's some UK players, Zakubus, Shaggy. There's a whole bunch of players who, Killu from Mouse Sports. There's a whole bunch of names that everyone will remember. Garpy, obviously, people might know from Half-Life and later on in Quake. So did this tournament itself sort of have a whole bunch of people come out and start practicing for it?
For sure. This was a very, very skilled tournament. I mean, everyone was waiting for UT3. All the top players were waiting for the UT3, and even Quake players thought that it was going to be the next big FPS game, right? Especially with this tournament announced. It didn't only have like 20,000 pounds for the first place of the duel, but it also had 30,000 pounds for a team game type that was later announced that should have been TDM, but since the organizer liked ICTF, they picked the ICTF. So I refused to play it because I didn't like ICTF, and most like Dignitas and Mouse created a team for that, but they didn't win in the end. It was a good ICTF team that won, and it was the fairest. Basically, this tournament was super skilled. Like I was saying, there were squads created for these. Dignitas, Mouse Sports were getting salaries for that as well. There was Falcon playing. There was Lauke signed up. There was Git signed up. Then they didn't qualify. I don't know why, if they forfeited or stuff like that. There was, I think, like 400 sign-ups. And the funny part about this is that the sign-up for that tournament was you had to buy the game through play.com to actually sign up.
Okay.
So I have a funny story about this. Since I already bought the game, there was a guy that told me, "Hey, you don't need to buy. I have a license. I'll give you the license." And but then the guy kind of vanished, and he appeared a few days later. "Hey, I don't have the license here, but I'll give you later." So I was like, actually trusting the guy, and there was this time that I had to sign up, and there was like 10 minutes left or 20, and I couldn't find the guy, and I was like panicking because I couldn't sign up anymore. I couldn't buy the game and stuff like that. I mean, I was a kid back then. Like 50 euros for me was a lot of money, and I wanted to save it, and I was dumb. I mean, if the guy didn't show up, I wouldn't sign up because of 50 euros. I mean, but then the guy appeared like 10 minutes before, and I signed up, and I managed to enter the tournament and qualify and stuff like that. But yeah, regarding the lineup, you had many players that didn't even qualify for London. Like Falcon didn't qualify. Lauke, Kids, Screams, that was a very good UTK4 player at the moment, at that time, didn't qualify. And it was probably, maybe I sound a bit biased, but the most skilled UT tournament, because there was so much money involved, and people were practicing so much, even though the game had problems and stuff like that. The thing was, like, I wanted to be better than in UT4. When UT3 was announced, I told myself, okay, I'm going to start this game since the very beginning. I'm going to start practicing it. I don't care if I miss school sometimes. I can do the exams later, but I want to be good in this game. And hey, this game doesn't have shield gun, something that I hated back then. Shield gun is not good for duel, especially. So I could be more aggressive, and I probably wouldn't lose some matches that I did in T2K4 because people were just running around with it. And I got so tilted as an aggressive player for not being rewarded, for being aggressive and chasing people down, and they still got away. Like, you could do risks in T2K4 that it shouldn't be able to. Like, I heard kids saying this, and it's true. You could go to belt that and blow a shock combo in your face and you're okay. Or like you could be like 40 HP and go to some place and the guy has LG and you don't get punished for it. And the shield gun, in my opinion, broke UT2K4 duel. So UT3 didn't have shield gun. UT3 wasn't so hit-scan based. UT3 had more powerful rockets and combos. So the game just suited me. It was funny because in the beginning of UT3 demo, you had only one map that wasn't even suitable for duel. That was called E-Tray. It was a huge map that everyone was playing because it was the only map that was available. The thing is that map played really like UT2K4 because it was a lot about distance. It can. But I knew that map wasn't going in to be in the map pool once the full game was out. So I wasn't doing very well in the beginning because it was about, again, shock primaries and stuff like that. And people didn't even look at me like a player that would win a tournament or place top 3. They would respect me. They would think I could be like top 8 and probably, qualify for London. I was one of the best players in the world in K4, so why not? But then the full game came out and I started practicing other maps, and deck 16 was there, and I had this advantage that some UT2K4 players didn't because they didn't play UT99, and I played UT99 a lot, even though I wasn't so good back then, but I could transfer my map knowledge from deck 16 to UT3. So basically in UT3 I was unbeatable in deck 16. Yeah, I don't think I ever lost a map there. Maybe I did, but it was really rare. People were really afraid of me on that map because I was like a complete player that played UT99 and UT4 and could combine the duel and the map knowledge from UT99. So yeah, I really wanted to do well in UT3. I mean, I never imagined I could win, but I wanted to be more than top 5, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or win, but that would be a dream then. But I really aimed. So in the beginning, I started playing E-Tray, that map that I didn't like, and I wasn't doing very well. I was playing with a bad computer as well, like 40 FPS, but I was getting into the game. I was actually understanding the game. Then I won a tournament in UT2K4 in my country, and I won like $500 or $1K, and I bought a computer to play T3. So I got better again. But online, I still wasn't the best. I still wasn't top 3 because I was playing with 60 ping. So people didn't really expect that I would be that good. I would like beat top players, but then lose and not be so dominant. But yeah, you had very, very many good players: Dignitas, Mouse, Falcon, Zeta, Shaggy that came back from nowhere because he was injured. He's an MMA fighter nowadays, actually. And I started practicing with him, and we got in 4K. Me, Shaggy, a guy called Skip that was from Dignitas Quake 4, and Stevo. And we started practicing a lot and to try to qualify for this tournament. And I had a blast. Yeah.
Okay, so in this tournament, one of the interesting details is at this tournament, okay, you placed first place, and then Golink, the French player, placed third place, and obviously Shaggy was at the tournament. And a week later was I-Series, was I-33, and actually you and Golink were there again, and then Shaggy was there again, you placed top 3. So having these 2 lands back to back, shows kind of some consistency as well, right? It wasn't just a one-off, because I mean, both you and Golik had very good performances at both tournaments.
Yeah.
What was it about the game that suited you more than others, or in what way did you excel, do you think?
It was what I told you before. Basically, the game allowed me to be more aggressive and more spammy. So it's not so much about its cannon, it's more about projectiles. And I excelled at that. And I felt like I was doing so much better. Like, people just couldn't use the shield gun anymore. I could jump on them and they couldn't do much. Like, there's some players that only know how to play with its can in UTK4 and can still be very successful. I was good in UTK4 with flak, with rockets, but I wasn't rewarded by it, because the game just promoted a close back, its canish play. So basically the game just suited me, and the fact that Dex 16 was in, like, some people just said it's not fair. This guy is already up 1-0 because no one can beat him on Dex 16. So that also gave me an edge. And the game just suited me. But yeah, as you said, I was a bit nervous after play.com, because I felt, okay, I won this game, but I don't know if probably didn't see the brackets, but I actually lost in that tournament to kill you before. Sure. And I lost, and I went to the losers bracket, and I had to beat Golding and Echo, and then I was in the final against Kilu again. So to win this tournament, I had to win 2 best of 3, and I won 4-0. But there's an interesting story behind this, because in the beginning of this tournament, I had the idea, because the prize money was so big, and it was only for the first place, right? So it didn't make any sense to me that the second place wouldn't get anything, or the third place, right? So I talked to all the players, and I thought, hey, why don't we agree that the winner just gives something to the second and third place? Okay. I think
like poker.
Yes. I mean, for me, it just made sense. Like, second place, nothing. I mean, play.com just wanted to give out a big check, and that's it. But off the record, we could do it. And I mean, we are a small community, not small, but we knew each other very well and stuff like that. So I talked to every player, and everyone agreed, except the mouse sports part. Kilu and Daddy said that it was needed a contract and stuff like that, because they wouldn't agree on it without a contract. And I said, okay, I mean, for me, my word is more valuable than 20k, but whatever. So we didn't agree on that. We didn't agree on that part, and in the end, it was the winner takes all. But the most interesting thing was that, okay, Kilu beat me. He beat me 2-1 in maps, and he beat me twice in those maps in overtime. And I was destroyed, because I knew that, okay, I lost. It's going to be so tough to come from the lower bracket. I'm doomed. And I'm very negative about this stuff. I don't have this champion attitude that some people say that I'm going to win everything. No, sure. I practice to win. I want to be the best, but I'm not like, okay, I'm going to win. I'm so confident. No. I was never like this. It's just my mentality, and well, I don't know. Maybe it's a protection for myself for not disappointing me. I don't know, but yeah, I was destroyed, and then I won against Golding, and then I won against Echo, and then I was in the final again against Kilu. Okay, so I knew how he played, and he's this type of guy that hears everything and doesn't take any risks and stuff like that. So I wasn't taking much risks either, even though I was an aggressive player. I mean, there was $40,000. So, Gaspar, please be humble this time and play a defensive game and a smart game, and don't be like aggressive. Just be smarter. And I won the first best of 3. And there we were even. And I remember back then my manager from Four Kings came to me and told me, don't you want me to ask him if he wants to do an agreement now with the money, because the second play, the second place would get like 5k, so at least he wouldn't go empty-handed. And I say, yeah, sure. So he went to Kilu, and Kilu was like thinking and stuff. He was really nervous because he kind of thought he already won the tournament when he won against me in the upper bracket. Like he was super happy and stuff like that. Of course, he knew he still had something to do, but I felt that he was like too confident. And when he lost the first best of 3, he was like, okay. And then we agreed on it, and we shook hands, and I gave him 5K. And that actually helped me because I played way more relaxed. Like 5K for me back then, it was a lot of money. I was like, wow, I already won 5K. It was so good. So like $8,000 or $10,000. So even if I lost, it was second place. It wasn't too bad. So I played relaxed, I played smart, and I played way better. I won 4-0. I won quite comfortably.
So one thing that I'm interested to know about is, I know that for the people who are the dedicated players of Unreal, basically, as long as there's any tournaments, they'll play, and they'll play online cups, and they'll play whatever it might be. I mean, that's one of the things that I always feel like it's one of the topics I really should make a video about or something, because so many people have been sold the idea of esports purely based on numbers of prize money, basically. Like, look at how much money there is for this tournament and how much there is for this. And even pro players themselves, oftentimes that's a way to bolster their ego, is to be like, oh, well, you know, I've won this much and, you know, I can get more than a good job, etc. Because, like, if you think about it, the ultimate insecurity of the esports player is the idea that, like, you're a nerd and you're doing something that society doesn't like. So, bizarre thing is, though, if anyone knows anything about the early days of esports, all the early players in every game played for competition. They played because they wanted to be the best at a game. And yeah, it was cool when they then became prize money and there was more tournaments. And, you know, not only do you get to go to the LAN, but someone pays for you to go to the LAN. You know, it gradually built up. Yeah, sure. But that's one thing I've always respected, is like players who will just play the game just because it's for fun, and also because they want to be the best. They want to beat the other guys who play the game. So I saw and I heard that, some of these legendary players actually made little comebacks. So people like Gitz turned up again, and people like Lauke maybe showed up for some tournaments later on, right? Even though the scene has not been as healthy and there haven't been these big LANs that could kind of put the spotlight, did these guys just show up occasionally, and did they just play half-heartedly? Did people actually try to get good again and sharpen their skills?
I don't know what happened with Gitz and Lauke. Like back then in UT3, I didn't practice with them. I don't know if they played much the game or not. I know that Gitz, for example, sometimes plays UT4 nowadays, and I talk to him sometimes. But back then in UT3, I don't remember. But yeah, there's always this problem. Not talking about Gitz or Lauke, but I know that like some old players tried UT4. And they didn't enjoy. But sometimes there's an ego thing. Like you don't enjoy the game because you're not as good as you were before. Sure. So it's like your opinion on the game is kind of biased because you're not as good as you were. Like, for example, UT4, it's a really cool game. It has some flaws. I was surprised to see Git saying that it's the best of the series. Like I would think you would say like UT99 or so, but he's humble enough to admit that the game is nice. But yeah, I think the problem that you said is like, even in Quake, there's always been this problem that a sequel always generates controversy. I believe that there was this controversy about like Quake 2 to Quake 3. Like Quake 2 players hated Quake 3, and then years after, Quake 3 became the best game in the world, right? Believe
it or not, the funniest thing is, if you ask anyone who was a Quake 3 player now, they all think Quake 3 is the best Quake. Yeah. Whereas what's funny is, I remember when Quake 3 came out, everyone who played the past Quakes, Quake 1, Quake 2, I said, this fucking sucks. And in fact, even the early pros were like, I'm only playing this for the money, you know, and I want to win the tournament or whatever. It's amazing how these things change, right? When people have a different attitude.
I think people are just not open enough, you know, and people just love the game so much, and they are so passionate that little things or big things that change the game just change their way of seeing the game. Like if it was a new game, maybe they would see it differently. I don't know, but in UT, it's interesting because I'm one of the very few players that played every UT, and probably one of the few that like every UT. And I've always been open, and I always been open regarding other games too, even though I didn't play them as much. But I tried Quake. I'm a Arena FPS lover overall. I think all of them are great, and I'm just open. I think UT4 has some really cool stuff that you couldn't do before. It had so much depth that if UT4 was there before in the big tournaments, it would be so cool. Like
so tell me then, sell me on UT4. What's different about it, and what areas do you think are actually better?
Well, UT4 basically has a multi-wall dodge that you can do multiple wall dodges on the walls, and it's adds more depth overall. Like I remember saying that, for example, in Quake, I prefer Quake for traveling from point A to B, but in close range, I think Quake is very basic compared to UT. UT has so much more depth, and like UT99 add depth, but then UT 2003 had more depth because you had the double jump and wall dodge, and now with UT4 you can slide, you can crouch slide, you can multi-wall dodge in the walls, you can do so much stuff. Like with the boots, you can do dodge jump with the boots, and it's even more complex than back then. The old physics have more possibilities and has more depth. Unfortunately, there are just no tournaments and no supports at the moment, and the community is very small. But it's a great game that is still in alpha and have flaws, of course, but has huge potential. But maybe it came a bit too late. I don't know.
Okay, so I saw that you had been playing some Quake Champions, and when the game first came out and there was all this hype around it, you were playing it. And you were playing some Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Is this something where you want to be a Quake player? Is this something where if that continues on as a big game and it has a big circuit, will you stick to it? Are you still kind of waiting for UT to get another spike? Maybe there'll be a UT5 and maybe they'll actually put money behind it and do a big tournament or something.
Yeah, well, I always liked Quake. Okay, I follow it Quake. I follow ES Reality, and I always liked CPMA movement as well. Even though I never played much, I played Quake Live in 2010 because UT was dying, and there's this Portuguese player called Ins,
Sure.
and he told me, "Hey, why don't you start playing Quake Live? There's some tournaments in Portugal and stuff like that." I was like, Quake Live. I mean, that's Quake 3. I'm so many years behind. It's going to be hard to actually catch up. But so I started playing it, and I started to actually master the movement. And there was like a Portuguese tournament. It's not big. I mean, but I wanted to at least try to win it. And I won. I won 2 national tournaments in my country. And but the level in Quake Live in Portugal is not so big, so that's not a huge achievement. But for me, it was fine. I played for 3 months and I won those tournaments. So yeah, but I knew I was very far behind the pros and stuff like that. I knew that if I would play 5 hours a day for one day, I would still probably not be able to be in the top 20, or I don't know. I'm not sure. I could have went to ESWC and stuff like that, but I didn't want to qualify to ESWC because I felt that I wasn't prepared enough. If I want to go to an international tournament, I want to be able to compete with the best and aim for top spots, and I just don't want to go there and don't pass the group stage or not represent my country in a good way, because I have this responsibility. I mean, back then in 2004, 2005, no one in Portugal did anything in esports. I was the only one. I was joining Dignitas in 2005, and I was like, everyone in esports in Portugal knew me, and I was like quite a celebrity somehow, and people looked up to me. So I wanted always to represent my country the best I could. And in this game, I didn't have preparation enough. So I stood back, and I went inactive in 2010 and came back again just for Shootmania. And I played the game a bit, and I went to ESWC, but I went probably not the best team, not a very mature team. There was a good Portuguese player back then, but yeah, we won against Dignitas, but we didn't pass the group stage, and I was gutted because to represent my country, I wanted to at least pass the group stage, to at least like place top 8 or something, and that was probably, I didn't enjoy the game as well, so I stopped playing. I just qualified for ESWC, met some friends there, from some guys from Quake, some guys from UT, and then I stopped again. Stopped in 2012, and then in 2014 UT4 was announced, and I started to play again. Basically, I started to play again. I started to play as much as I can. But the game was, the problem with UT4 was that it was announced before they actually started playing, doing the game. So it was open source, so you could like play the game from a very, 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 very early stage. That there were still placeholders from UT3. It was a mess. But I thought to myself, okay, maybe they will finish the game in 2 years, and I should start now because I will develop skills, and maybe the core of the game will become this. I mean, you could multi-wall dodge. I did some videos with it that you could jump around. It got pretty popular, and Epic noticed me and actually got invited to their headquarters after.
Okay, that's cool. Right, at the end of this interview, do you have like a final message for people? Maybe about Unreal, whether you hope the future will be, and do you have anyone you want to thank or say hello to?
Okay, so Quake was the last part of my career. When Quake Champions was announced, I was like, okay, I'm going to try this game. And I did have a bit of Quake background, but not much. But I started to practice it, and I played a lot of Quake in the beginning, and I got noticed by JDubs and Garpy and stuff, and basically they were creating a team, and they picked me up. And we started playing Sacrifice against top teams and stuff like that. And our aim was to basically qualify to QuakeCon, to make it to the regionals. Then JDubs stepped down from the roster, and a guy called Syndrome was in, and a Polish player that was doing really good. But then 1 week before the qualifier, Syndrome left us, and then that's the time that Vu got in, 1 or 2 weeks. So yeah, we qualified for the regionals, and we started like the Maestro team that nowadays is quite known with Razy, Garpy, etc. Then we went to the regionals and we qualified against the odds because Miasma, the last match we had, Miasma, DDK, Juvenile, etc. was beating us in practice a lot. But we had like a strategy with clutch, and we won. So basically we qualified for QuakeCon. And it was amazing because we beat both Alliance and Miasma, and Alliance basically got Syndrome that was from our team. So it was an awesome feeling. And once we got to QuakeCon, we finished 5th. We unfortunately lost against Team Liquid twice, even though the last match was quite close. We kind of did redefined our strategies, and we got 5th. So that was like my last step in career, and I played a bit of Quake as well, and achieved something that I wanted a lot for a long time, that was playing Quake on a top level. Basically, I want to thank Maestro and all the guys like Potsy, Hell, Garpy, for having me in the team, and all the good time we spent together was amazing. And thank you. I want to thank everyone that helped me through these years, people that have been cheering for me, and from UT and other games. I want to thank my whole team, Kick teams, Cube, Psy, Thunder. I want to thank people from Saint and Sinners, that is a UT99 team, Wolf, that are currently in mouse sports, and I was also in mouse sports. Yeah, basically that's it. My mom, my dad, and you. And thank you for this interview, of course.
All right. Obrigado.
Well,
This video was kindly supported by Alexander Rao, Dean Tanglis, Emanuel Särnbratt, JDubs, NateDOhDoubleG, the Puyallup Tribe, Tobias Bernasconi, Xinged, and a special thanks always goes out to Jerky's Minion. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my shows? Maybe ask a question in my monthly video AMA? Do you want teasers? Who are the guests on my next content? Maybe you want to take part in one of those donated discussions with me where we go really deep into the weeds. Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is and join the Scrilluminati today in the description box link below.